national security problem. It's a public health problem. It's a problem that could end up dragging the entirety of our society over the cliff if we don't understand it and solve it. So to help us do exactly that, let's say good morning to our guest. Dr. Deborah Atobra is a senior research fellow at the Institute of African Studies at the University of Ghana. Thank you for coming, Doc.
You're welcome.
We have Wilhelmina Teta with us. Now, Wilhelmina holds an MPhil from the Institute of African Studies, and she's currently a PhD student at the School of Performing Arts at the University of Ghana, Legon. Now, at the School of African Studies, the Institute of African Studies, she did her research on child street beggars, focusing solely on Ghanaian children. And of course, she did this because she has a general interest in gender and children. And we are interested in what she learned. And that's why she joins us here today. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you very much for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, Ray is here. Good to see you, Ray. Oh, I've seen you already, haven't I? Seen enough, cry. But look, this thing is serious. I want us to start with you, Dr. Atobra. Help us understand the nature of this phenomenon. This thing where young people who society ought to protect, who the system ought to know and track and monitor and provide for, somehow slip through the cracks and end up on our streets.
Thank you very much, Kojo. Thank you for having me in your studio. And I think that for a very long time we have, let's say, deceived ourselves in thinking that society is static, and we romanticize our past and our cultures and the so-called safety nets we have in our family systems and all of that. And now we are seeing that things are changing, and many things are unfortunately changing for the worse, which is very problematic. And so these are children who live on the streets. I mean, many people, sold and worked around markets. I did sell when I was a kid for my mother. But what we see now are children who are on their own, children of school-going age, who should be in the classroom or should be learning some vocation, are independent and on their own on the streets, living, and some are working on the streets. And so the issue of street children is within this broader, framework. And this is something that we see with urbanization. And it's very common when there is unplanned urbanization, which we ought to know would happen as we move towards, development. And so we should have planned, we should have put many systems in place. And for a long time, we have thought that everyone belonged to a family and every family is functional. And that is also a fallacy, because there are people from dysfunctional families, and we haven't carefully planned and provided for how these children ought to be looked after. And what happens to them when they are out of the classroom. And so this is a bigger problem. There are some on the streets, there are some on our beaches, there are some who live in the lorry stations, and of course, if they are working as trotro mates or whatever, then, they are kind of employed or in some gainful livelihood, system. But these are young people who are just loitering around, very idle, and that is where the problem comes from. And so Mina will talk about street children, but also with the system in which we talk about poverty, and many of us are looking back to the rural settings. But urban poverty is more precarious than rural poverty, because people are exposed to affluence and all forms of things. So they are in the urban centers, they are young people, they have exposure, they see all kinds of things, and they are poor and they are socially excluded. So it's a whole lot to deal with.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed, and in fact, you've made an important point about the fact that they are exposed to wealth. They are seeing people in 4x4s driving through that traffic light every day. And they told us about it. And it's a pity we didn't bring that part of it, maybe in subsequent conversations. They told us about the fact that there are people who own 13, 14, 15 cars parked in their driveways, and they can't get 3 square meals. You know, they observe the inequality, and they consider it to be an unfair situation against them. I wonder what that would motivate them to do, you know. But Wilhelmina, you have actually taken time to study this. Tell us what your studies uncovered. Who are these kids? Where do they come from? What are their demographics? And how do they end up there?
Okay, thank you very much. So my research, I focused on children who are Ghanaians. So children I could trace to their homes. And so we have them coming from different parts of the regions in Ghana. Some, I traveled all the way to Kumasi with some, to Nkoko, Accra, Kaswa, all around. Some coming from the north, but then research proximity, I couldn't have gone to the north. So they are coming from different places in Ghana here. And from the interviews you did, your target group, they were 19 years. But my research, I had children as low as 9.
9?
Yes,
Oh,
9.
we did see some toddlers out on the
Yes.
street yesterday.
On their own. Sometimes the toddlers have parents with them. But with my research, they were on their own. 9, 11, 14. The highest amongst my study group was 16. So as low as that age, as low as 9, some of them are on their own, fending for themselves, buying food for themselves, clothing themselves, having fun, like finding entertainment for themselves. And some of them are even trying to gather money to go back to school. Yes, interestingly. And some don't even have a clear-cut direction. They are parents on their own. And some have now, like, I found this whole street culture where they have formed families for themselves. So they live in groups. So you mentioned Shiashi. In Shiashi, for instance, there's a group that probably somebody from Kotobabi would not come into that group because they have like sections, they are fragmented. So, and every group and what goes on within the group. For instance, in one group, I find that when you come onto the street as a newbie, you are trained. And as you are trained, you have like a responsibility. As you are taught begging, for instance, because begging, you need some kind of harshness to do that. So you are taught the skill of begging. So as you are taught that, after you learn for some time, it's like an apprenticeship. Now you have to work for the person who taught you for like a month or 2. Yes, where after you work, you would divide the money into, let's say, 10%, 90%, and then you take the little, and then you give the 90% to the one who trained you.
Wow.
So you do that for like 2 months before you're on your own. And then whatever monies you get, you decide what you want to use it for. It will shock you that some of them save up. There was this boy I met, and he saved up a lot. Like, he doesn't want to go back home with nothing. So he saved every time you meet him. So how much have you saved? Oh, Sisia no medube 500. Every time he doesn't change his clothes. Everybody and their reasons for being there. This particular boy doesn't change his clothes. And when you want to even give him food, like I decided not to give them money, but to be giving them food whenever I meet them. When you want to give him food, he would calculate the food and say, okay, don't give me chicken, give me fish, and give me the rest of the money you would use to buy the chicken, so that I would save the one for the balance, and then use the difference between
the fish and the chicken.
Exactly, so that I can take it back home. And this boy, after some time, I was on the street with them for like 4 months, like trying to, because every day in the story they tell you. And just so that I know that what they're telling me is true, because sometimes you go today, they say this, the next day you go, it changes, because the more you go there, the more they trust you, and then the more they confide in you. So After some time going, I think the third month, when I went, he was off the street, which means that he had gathered enough that he could go back. And that day, the day he would go, he wanted to go with me. But when I got there, he had already left. And he wanted to go with luxury goods. So they come looking for things like money for luxury goods. He wants to go with clothes. He wants to go with maybe a phone, buy books. Because he complained that when he goes to school, he was coming from a remote part of Ghana. When he goes back and he's going to school, he doesn't have books. He doesn't have a proper uniform. But when he comes to the streets and then he's able to save and he goes back, he knows that he will be able to buy proper clothes to wear. He'll be able to buy uniforms, textbooks, and exercise books to use in school.
Did you find that was generally how focused these kids were?
Not all of
on
them are
goals?
focused. Some actually don't even know what they want to do. There are a lot of them who don't. So it is just few cases where you have them being that focused. Some, you ask them, what do you want to do? Oh, me pese minyiska. That's all. They want to make money. And Doc was talking about dysfunctional families. Some just want to make money for their families. So there was this particular boy I took interest in who I sent home, and the mother asked me to bring him back to the street because if he stays home, he'll go back. So it's like the street now becomes a part of the child's life. We forget to talk about that. The street now, it lives within them. So wherever you take them, they are eager to come back. So almost all the kids I sent home, I ask you, do you want to stay home? Then they will be like, okay, today I'll stay. One boy I sent home was like, I'll stay. I came back. The next day he was on the streets. Yes, he had come back. And when I asked him, he said, Matrafi, like, I've gone beyond home. Yes. So most of them don't have clear-cut, like, purposes. They are just there looking for money. And they have huge aspirations. They want to drive the 4 wheels. They want to have swimming pools in their homes. But interestingly, they don't want their children to be like them. They want their children to be focused, be in school, like have a better life than they have. And like listening to the interviews you did, the harsh conditions, the accidents, not only accidents, but the mere fact of just sleeping on the roadside is so like, I went there at dawn one day and I was just sad to see them. And they are very packed like sardines. They sleep in, when you ask them, why do you sleep like that? For security reasons. So for instance, if somebody is coming to attack and one person is waking up, like they all wake up. It's like a chain. Yes. So that's what happens. So it's a whole network on their own, a whole hierarchy. There are so many hierarchies on the streets. So it's like an organization. That's what I want to say.
Now, one more thing. They told me that they only make about 30 cedis a day. What did you find?
Okay. So there are what we call good market days for them. And there's a bad market day. So good market days, they make 50 cedis, 100 cedis. And that is when sometimes they meet celebrities who give them like, okay, take 100, take 200. And they have days that probably this part is not good for them. And so I don't know how they connect to have, they don't have telephones, but they know where the market is. Today the market is at Shiashi. So everybody, you see that there will be a lot at Shiashi. Today the market is at Okponglo. They are there. Like, that's how they move. And they make, within a day, some make 50 cedis, 100 cedis. The least is 20 cedis. So 30 cedis, I think, is on the minimum. They make more than that. Yes.
Interesting. Now, Ray, they all said to me that they want to work. They all said this. I wonder whether our unemployment statistics even capture these young people who you will find in every urban area, particularly in Accra, whether our unemployment figures even takes them into account. And when they say we will work, what exactly are the skills that they have to bring to the market?
So interesting, because we start by agreeing that people below 15 are not supposed to be working. And we see a lot of them below 15 also on the street there.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes we leave them out. So there was a broad definition that was deployed, I think, by the World Bank some time ago in 2016 in trying to have a bigger picture of what should be happening. So they basically ask those who are available to work, not necessarily because they are qualified to work, but just being available to work. Of course, there are people who are 9-year-olds who are saying that still I'm working. So if I get a better opportunity to work in a controlled environment where I will not be harassed, intimidated, and all of that, I'll still be able to function and help out the way I'm supposed to help out. There was this child they spoke to, is it 11 or so, and had to pay 20 cedi in school. She could not pay 20 cedi, so had to come to the street, find money, and then got comfortable because she got more than 20 cedi, then stayed because it was getting her enough money also for the grandmother.
Yeah.
And the child lived at Sahara, just behind Adabraka there. So the motivation is that if you're not within the bracket, you're not largely covered. So about 15, yes, there's a chunk of them that actually reported that really, and I like the part she talked about urban poverty, because it's also one of the things that are considered in that report, which really stressed that it's a bigger issue than we thought. Most people forget that but more than 10 years ago, we crossed the population being predominant in rural areas. So we have more of our people in urban areas today than in the rural areas. It tells you that more of the people in the urban areas are also looking for jobs and all of that. So when you put out that circle, the unemployment rate within the youth, which is supposed to be 15 to 25, still the AU says 35, so there's a confusion within that range. But 15 to 25, it is a bigger range than what we have in the national scale when we combine it from 15 to those who are going into retirement. It tells you how problematic the situation is. The other problem also is that we have tried, for example, to fix our unemployment, leaving out this group because sometimes they fear. So it's easy to get the guy who came out of school, who has a home, to give that person a job. Then you can also, let's say, the less debt, the less they can, all of that, because they feel they can trace them. But it was difficult to get the guy who is just on the street, who you do not know where they really live or cannot track properly, give them the job in a way that will be sustainable. So you fear that if you give him your tools to work with, if he has to go home with some of these uniforms, he may not come back, and that will be a problem for the state to work out. So they've not been able to find a very convenient way of getting them to do this properly. In 2017, it was very interesting when they introduced that policy. Government introduced this, get them off the street for a better life. The idea was that we would not only get them off the street, but we build shelters for them in the interim, train them in the various training centers that we have across the country, so that we can get them. I think there were 2 batches that started that project. What happened was that a number got back on the street, even during the training process, because we forgot that some of these are also people who feed families. So whilst our focus on getting the guy better off and getting him some comfort, he couldn't feed the family. So he needed still to be on the street, and we didn't know how to deal with that. Secondly, we couldn't expand it well enough to virtually everybody. And I heard they complain about who was most qualified for that intervention, the most vulnerable, or the person who is more likely prone to what they call all of the criminal activities that are around. The difficulty is that if people are engaged in or are likely to be engaging in criminality or know criminals more, they seem to be better off, that they don't think that going through training and getting them the life that they deserve or will be the best alternative.
They actually prefer a criminal enterprise because they think it'll make them more.
Yes, it will actually get them the results they want in the closest time that they want to have it. The other difficulty they also faced was the people who were indirectly being recruited for Languard activities. So he's 17. He's been on the street, he's strong enough, he's actually gathered enough experience so can aid others in some of these activities like the Languards were doing. And 2 ways. Sometimes they don't do it during the day. They are there to help with construction even during the night, because when you protect the lands, others come to do construction in the night, and they help them to do some of these things. The biggest headache I have around this is that we've not been able to do what we say we will do all the time to help street children. You remember the idea of getting them shelter way back in 2007. We mooted the idea that we will build places for them, so that if you get them a place to live, you're also reducing the potential for them to defecate outside and all the other things they do that contribute to their public health problems. When you do that, then you can really take care of them the way they ought to be done. Unfortunately, we've not improved the lives of the people generally to reduce poverty levels, which may affect them too. So we are basically adding more people to the numbers on the streets, building stronger ties on the streets, which is becoming somehow more lucrative than doing some of the jobs that alternatively they have gotten and done when they were out of the scope. So maybe, just maybe, if we're able to implement the many things we say we will do, if we care enough about them, because remember, election time, we said, oh, we'll vote them this, we'll do that, because we care about their votes too, because they register to vote. Then we can get the solutions the way they are supposed to be done.
Right.
But there's also a point that has been raised, I think, by a report that suggested that the solution with dealing with street children is when you improve the general well-being of all people, it's more likely to affect them in a very positive way.
So more of a sustainable solution.
Yes.
If things are better for everyone, things are
They
better
are
for
likely to be in the
I
better
see the wisdom
situation.
in that. When we come back, I'm hoping we can do this. When we come back, I will get Victor to play for us what they told me about politicians. Okay, their view of politicians. Because, you know, a lot of them voted in the last election. And politicians came to canvass their votes, made them promises. And, well, the election is over and they are still out on the streets. We'll tell you what they said to us about politics. And then we will settle into the conversation about solutions. From everything that you know, from your fields of study, how do we properly solve this problem? What is step one? What's step two? What's step three? What do we need to provide? And perhaps we can start to figure out how much it will cost to solve this problem once and for all. Because as a nation, we've agreed that we'll do everything in the best interest of the child. At what point are we going to start doing that? Let's talk about it after these messages.
Melcom is at it again, oh. This time it is Melcom Easter Sale promo. Surprise your family, friends, and loved ones during this season of Melcom Easter Sale promo. Enjoy up to 50% discount on thousands of items at any Melcom shop nationwide. Promo starts from the 22nd of March 2021 to the 11th of April 2021. But remember, terms and conditions apply. Melcom, where Ghana shops.
It's time to meet again in historic landscapes. Have a safe journey to Europe with Turkish Airlines. Book your ticket now and fly until May 31st to enjoy special fares. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, please visit TurkishAirlines.com. Turkish Airlines, widen your world.
My sweetheart Rita, what's up?
I'm thinking of my future now. I want to be the next IT guru in the world.
Wow! Then let's go study at IPMC College of Technology. All IPMC courses are industry-oriented with hands-on practical sessions.
Wow!
IPMC has trained thousands of students from West Africa since 1995. With IPMC, you can surely be the next IT guru.
Oh, yeah?
Enroll to study at Ghana's best IT training school and learn any of our world-class IT education courses. Software coding and programming, graphic and web designing, networking and infrastructure management services, digital marketing, undergrad program in information technology, and more. With our enhanced learning approach, you have the option of studying online or in our lecture room facilities for classroom learning. Register today and get your free tablet and 60 gigabytes data for 1 year. Terms and conditions apply. For more details, send us an email to training@ipmcghana.com or call 055-555-2222. IPMC College of Technology, training the next generation of IT experts.
Do you have a property for sale? Your property may need professional management. Do you have accommodation to rent out or simply looking for a place to rent? Renters Paradise, your professional landlords, offers you the best property management consultancy and services. Call us on 0551 955 366. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Renters Paradise GH. You can also visit our website, rentersparadisegh.com. Renters Paradise. Paradise. Your peace of mind assured.
Your office they shine, oh.
Yes, so I tell you, say for proper and modern ceiling solutions, the answer be Interface Limited. Them get in stock acoustic ceilings where you go fit make your office fine like my own.
Or even better pass your own self.
We can better pass my own.
Shall I go Interface right now?
Interface Limited is the leading supplier and installer of finishing input materials for the building and construction industry in Ghana. Call us on 0274 999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook, Interface Limited GH. Instagram, interface.limited.
DSTV has millions of stories to inspire you for anything you do in your everyday life. Now for the best man to say a few words.
I would like to say this to the couple. Girl, I go take you to Lagos. Girl, I go take you to Ghana. Girl, I go take you to Tema.
He's been watching Aquaba Magic on DSTV. Get inspired by great local entertainment like drama, series, music channels, and so much more. Get DSTV today only from 48 Ghana cedis a month. DSTV Ghana, it's your moment.
The cousin that hogs all the food. The relative who's always late. The brother who's always on the phone.
Hello, let me call you right back.
The niece who's allergic to everything.
No, thank you. I'm allergic.
The work buddy that finishes the last of the Coca-Cola. We all know one, but meals wouldn't be the same without them. Savor moments together with Coca-Cola. This advert is FDA approved.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
Those who wish to follow me, I welcome with my hands, and the red sun sinks at last into the hills of gold, and peace to this young warrior without the sound of guns.
Welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy FM. It's 9 minutes past 9, and today our conversation once again is centered on the youth. This is something which we have taken our eye off the ball on for a little too long, and as it starts to evolve into a bigger problem than we imagined, we really need to catch up. We need to understand what's going on with them and try and figure out how to make things better for them so that we don't end up with horrifying stories like what happened in Kaswa. Our guest this morning, Wilhelmina Tete, has an MPhil from the Institute of African Studies. She's a PhD student, but she spent some time doing research on child street beggars. We're learning a lot from that research that she did. Dr. Deborah Tobra is a senior research fellow at the Institute of African Studies at the University of Ghana, both of them giving us very deep insights into what causes the phenomenon we call streetism. So more from them in a moment, but first, Edimwa, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with the partners who help bring us the Super Morning Show. We'll start with Glycocritical Illness Plan, GSIP. It's in your best interest to survive. They bring us text messages on the Super Morning Show, and at Glyco Life, they believe that this is the time to protect your future with a life insurance policy from Glyco. Their products are designed to offer you peace of mind, especially in this era of COVID-19. Your claims are important to them, so they say, listen, come and visit at any of their offices or go to the Glyco Life website, glycolife.com. Lodge your claims there for prompt service. We're all surviving COVID-19 together, so please pay your premiums via your chosen mode. If it's by Momo, it's 0591 441 473. If it's by e-premium for microinsurance, then you can do it to safeguard your policy. The call center team is ready on 0202 222 113 to help you. Why don't you contact them via their digital channels if you prefer? And of course, their offices are implementing the Ghana Health Service recommended COVID-19 protocols as they care for your safety. Please practice social distancing, keep safe, and trust Glyco Life to cushion you.
All right, well, let me tell you about Kingdom Books temperature guns. They come in different shapes and names. You've seen the rest, but we bring you the best. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your trusted partner, has just taken delivery of high-quality medical-grade infrared forehead thermometer guns for sale to the public. The features include precise non-contact measurements, automatic data hold, backlight LCD displays, and set alarm value. And of course, so many more features. For bulk purchases, please contact Kingdom Books and Stationery on 050-140-1050 or 0244-311-955. You can also walk into any of our shops located across the country or visit our head office located at Osu Aqua J Junction.
All right, so back into our conversation. And before the break, we were talking about whether or not this is really just an unemployment problem, whether giving them jobs, those who are old enough to work, or, putting them in some sort of vocational training, whether that would solve it. I mean, when I asked them, they said yes. They said they would gladly leave the streets to go and work for 400 cedis a month with the YEA or any of the other state, programs. They said yes. But would that be a sustainable solution, Doc?
No, Kojo, I don't think that would be sustainable. Child poverty is linked to adult poverty. And that is the issue. The fact that a kid wants to beg to be able to send money to his mother or his grandmother, it's a big issue of poverty. And so if we give them work, we may temporarily resolve some of these issues. But then it perpetuates a cycle of poverty within, the system and within the family. And for these children, I think what they desperately want to do is to break that cycle. They see it from their grandmother's generation, their mother's generation, and they are poor. That's why they would want to do anything. And like Mina said, some want to own 5 cars. It's not just a bread and butter issue. If it was, then giving them jobs would do. But also we know that children at ages of 9, 10, 11, even up to 15 need to go to school. And so they need some training, education, so that in the future they can fend for themselves in more sustainable ways. And so I think that giving them jobs is like fixing the cancer with Band-Aid. We should look at ways in which we can get them to learn, to study in school, because that's what they have to do at that age.
Now, Wilhelmina, I don't know what you discovered when you spoke to the young people on the streets, but personally, when I met the Shiashi boys, I noted, first of all, that almost all of them are from Accra, except for the one gentleman who came from Nigeria. Almost all of them have family in Accra. They have a father here or a mother there. Some of them...
Ghana or Accra?
Accra.
Accra.
Yeah, Accra. They have a father here, a mother there, and they've left homes, sometimes compound houses with a grandma and all that, to be on the street. Now, if the long-term solution is to educate them, and by the way, a lot of them dropped out of school to be there. I spoke to one young boy, perhaps the most articulate of them all, and he said that he actually, he was supposed to be writing BECE, right? But he needed some money, so he came onto the streets, got the money, and then he got distracted. He preferred to be on the streets, so he attended 4 different schools in preparation for BECE. Got sacked from each of them because he was just always on the street. And eventually, on the day of the exams, while his mates were writing the exams, he was on the streets. So I'm wondering, they seem willing to work, but work is not the long-term solution. They are clearly not excited about school. How do we then implement that, if that is the better solution?
This is a very dicey situation, because like I said earlier, the streets is now a part of them. It's like they are living for the streets. Let me put it that way. So work, if you give them work, they'll come back. If you give them school, they'll come back. Because I had situations where some of the kids, some NGOs had come for them, put them in schools, and they went and then they come back. I had some even who were in school at the time I was interviewing. So they go to school on Monday, and then when the school closes, they come back to come and work for money for the next day because they have to go back to school the next day. And when they go back, they don't want to go with nothing. They have to go with money to go and shop. So the scare is that probably you go to school close around 3, come back to work, and then get money and go back in the morning again. And when you go, you can now, because you have money, you can be pulling more people from the schools. And these people are in government schools. And what's the state of our government schools now? It's not able to actually hold the child, to keep the child in focus. So that is where the issue is. They go to school and there's noise, so much noise that kids are just playing about. So what is the concentration in schools? They end up now leaving the school and coming back because in the street is far better than being, because in the street they are also learning. They are learning hardness. They are developing their own forms of masculinities, like how to be a man, which people we are not really talking about, because in the past you are trained, initiated into how to be a proper lady, how to be a proper gentleman. But here's the case: we have these gentlemen, young boys, training young boys to be young boys, to be adult, to be men. So we will end up having half-baked adults. Yes, half-baked adults who don't know their... Yes, so it's I don't know what... Probably, I would say we should take it from their own perspective and see what they want and then look at it from that side. But if you should give them work, they'll come back. If you should give them education, they'll come back.
Yeah, so just to add to that, Mina rightly mentioned that many of these kids would have been in the public school anyway. And so, the issue of schooling being monotonous is a big deal in public schools. In many private schools, kids would have Boy Scouts, other ways of varying their experience in school, beyond just sitting and learning and listening to a teacher and doing work in exercise books, etc. Are they going on field trips in public schools? And I was looking at the State of the Nation address, and I really hope that I would see some of these things reflect, because before this issue came up, it was glaring at our faces. You drive everywhere and you see kids begging. 5 years, 10 years ago, it wasn't same. And so it's a really sorry state of our nation. And then we pride ourselves in doing all kinds of things in schools, which is good. But why are they not going to school? They have free meals in school, which is fantastic. Why are not? It's attractive. And so many of them are not necessarily hungry. Some school systems, especially in the public system, is not really appealing to them. There's no variation. No competitive sports in many public basic schools, no excursions, no, if you like, debating. And now there is, robotics everywhere in the world. A few private schools may be privileged to have these in their systems. Public schools, we can. These are not beyond us. So perhaps we have to rethink our system of, teaching. And sometimes we are very tokenistic. We think, they are poor. We give them free education. They should be happy. And it's like we are doing you a favor. But they are entitled. In many ways, they are entitled. If for nothing at all, taxes are paid. And if we are giving them education, we should give them the kind of education you would want for your child, I would want for my child. And they deserve that also.
There's one point that sometimes we get it of. When somebody has gone through the street life, they need rehabilitation. And it's true, our public education system doesn't offer that kind of rehabilitation. So what could be the case is when we learn from what Sri Lanka did some time ago, they established special schools for street children. So they are basically living in a different environment where they are taught to really learn the process of growing properly and then fit into society. If we leave them to only give them the opportunity to go back to school, give them jobs and all of those isolated interventions, not comprehensive enough, there may be problems. I think we tried that with a common targeting mechanism. It didn't yield enough results because we're saying if the mother is on leave, that child on the street or should also be in school for free and other things should be provided for the child. But we couldn't complete a cycle, and we basically focus on only LEAP and giving handouts.
That's an important point, Ray, and we'll come back for more of that. Right now, though, I mentioned that I spoke to these young boys about politics.
Okay.
And the fact that, they were canvassed for their votes by politicians who made them promises. And they have a very interesting perspective on it. Let's listen to that now.
Like we were there, yeah, cars they get accidents for here, nobody go touch. Hey, this guy, he help an MP, they put gun for MP in top. With this boy was here and Roberts away. Thank you, sir, boss. But that morning I did here, they hear one on news for TV. Shashi boys, we be the first people for news. You know, we harass them. If we see them, they ask us money, we not give them. We they hit them a cars, we they insult them, they all kind of things. But it never be true. If them a car sport right now, boss, we they be here for like 5 minutes, make somebody in car sport. Say he go call somebody for your bones of a prayer. Oh, fix the car radio. Them not do anything where they keep on blaming. We say maybe we they do the bad thing for the area inside. Where the big men in this country plus the government, they not do anything about it. If 5 years or 10 years to come, they not do anything about it. It will be very risky. Yes, it will be. What will happen? Because the thing be say we day here, we not get job. We will come your car in skin, we go beg you. You go give you, but the time you go, no, you they talk one matter say you be bad. So all kind of these things where they take do, you know. I think say if I come your car in body where you give me, or if you get some help, where you go if you take help me, where you no help me, where you give me coins, where you go. You for teach me how they catch fish. You know, they say you go give me fish every day. No. So I think say they for do something about it. If not, but the big man go give you a number. Oh, call me, I'll help you. If you go call him, you no go pick. But I go stand, they can't talk. Say they give you work, you know they come. If you see their number, but does you not be so?
Most especially, they go tell you say make you go find work. But if you say give me work, na big problem.
Like they insult them.
Na big problem. You tell me to go work. I say, please, can you help me with your work? Instead, you insult me.
This I want make you go. Do I be in name? Your friend is saying MPP madam. Boss, Mama Lydia. Wait, that woman what she take do here? Boss, me I swear me I be friend this. Mama Lydia, I promise you to make give you say after the vote, you can't move all of this for here. Instead of give everybody everybody individually work. 10 million and things. Also, I swear the day they vote for the small leader get this thing. If we go in time, but the man leader the sack us. He go tell us they make we go. The plans he get for us, we don't know. Every day, everybody vote give my leader. Because the good intention say she gets give free. But now we know say like if you John Dimolo we go do that thing, like we go vote give John Dimolo. We say if you go John Dimolo in store, we start go vote give my leader for them. John Dimolo, go John Dimolo with the sleep. They sleep for in store. Every morning go can't give you money make you chop. But you know vote John Dimolo in there, you go give me medicine free. You know take me anything.
This time and this upon a share still and this upon a share or street. Yeah, come on, boy.
Obi a street here easy no aboa. Boss easy. Boss you kwasu bia wa say. Papa boni o ya na save your mo boss easy. But thank you to boy. No, bro. As we there, no, any bad thing, any good thing where they go, we be there with the service where they go around. Then people they do connection and things for you. We they see you, not say we know they see you, but we not get more free. We know them big men. If they do something, go put your mouth for inside, they go can't kill you for years. Straight.
Ghana penny for
this work we do, no work, but at least this work it prevents people from going to steal. This work it prevents people from going to steal. We get people when them be armed robbers, but they come this way inside and show.
Yeah, they got very impassioned when the issue of politics came up. They actually named names. They said this politician, in fact, they mentioned Lady Al Hassan and John Dumelo, said they all came and canvassed for their votes. But then none of what they promised has happened. And they said that in the past they would go to one politician, and if they are feeling sick, he would give them free medicine. The other one would come along and say, I promise you I'll do this, I'll do that. The election is over, they've won, and nothing has been done. And they said that in fact, that part didn't play. They said that if any politician ever sets foot there to come and ask for their votes, they'll regret it. Anyway, look, let's take some calls. Let's find out what you think about this. Call us 0302 216 541. 0302 216 541. We can find them when we want their votes. That's not difficult. But when it's time to fulfill our promise to them, when it's time to give them the social protection that they are entitled to, then suddenly we don't know where they are. Or they don't know where we are. I don't know which one is more accurate. John is on the line from Kwabinya. Good morning, John.
Hello, good morning.
There you are. Thanks for calling us, John.
Yeah, thank you, Kojo. I'm happy to be your first caller.
Yeah.
And I'm so devastated, heartbroken, because this issue is bigger than what we are all looking at. It is not the issue of giving them school. It is not the issue of giving them food. It affects all of us. We are all part of the society. We are in a system which is run by some people, and that is the government. I'm not trying to point fingers or attack some people. Kojo, yourself, it affects you. Let me ask you a question. Your mates who are around you, where you are, I'm not sure you are being paid well. Your mates, they see you driving your cars, just like others also get into the government within the least number of years, 4 years. They are given ex gracias. They drive V8 all around, and the youth stand by and watch. We also feel probably when we get to that top, we'll understand what is happening. Because a few people sit down within 4 years, they are paid. We are all doing government work. How come you are paid and you are given ex gracias every year? I'm a teacher. I'm not giving ex gracias every year. I've been teaching for almost 20 years now. When was the last time I'm given ex gratia? When am I getting to my resignation? When I'm 60? Is that when you're giving me ex gratia? Why are you being paid more than me? When I have the same degree, qualifications, masters, MPhils, and everything like you, the government, even the president. How possible? I just don't get it. When you drive from Atomic down to Atomic up, Medina, count the number of young men standing by the roadsides, standing at the washing bays. I was telling somebody yesterday, these are young men between 25, 20, 25, 30, and so forth. They are my mates, and they are on the streets. These people are people's husbands, and they are not married. They can't take care of themselves. You see how it goes very fast to affect everybody? There are a lot of women in Ghana who are not married. How are we going to solve all these problems? It is starting from somewhere. I think as a nation, what is our goal? We are just busy. The streets are busy every morning, going nowhere, coming from nowhere. What is happening to us? We don't have a common goal. So this is what will happen. We can't solve a common system problem. There's something wrong with our system. It needs an overhauling. Mahama goes, Nana comes, everybody, nothing. The nation is not moving. And we are paying government. We are paying taxes. We are doing everything. And me, my pay, who is a teacher? You, the president. How come you are being paid more than me? Are we all not doing the same government work? Please. Thank you, Kwedu.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling us. Papa Bisu is on the line. Papa, how are you?
Kojo.
Yes, sir.
How are you, my brother?
We're managing.
We thank God. We thank God. It shall be well.
Amen.
Kojo, you know Accra Digital Center?
Yes.
You know the expansion, the port expansion at Tema?
Yes.
You know the new the expansion work at the airport?
Yes.
Kotoka International Airport?
Yes.
You know of FPSO in Nkrumah?
Yes.
And FPSO Mills, I think FPSO Kufuor?
Yes.
These are all coming from smart borrowing. You see, all these things, they employ the youths.
Okay.
Go to Ghana, Tema Harbour. See that the expansion has employed a lot of youth. Accra Digital Center to the same thing. It is supposed to take about 12,000 youth there. So we have differences in politicians. You understand? Ghana, we have a common goal. But it seems as if people were misled and were not focused, so we couldn't see where we are going. What I'm just trying to drive home is, it's painful to see the youth not having jobs. But a particular government came, this smart borrowing, and was putting up establishments to employ the youth. But because of the seats, they throw out that government. See what is happening in Kumasi now. I thank Almighty God for being there for President John Mahama. If Mahama had won this election, he will have said, we told you so.
Okay.
Kumasi people will say, we told you. The MPP will say, we told you so.
Okay.
We thank God that Nana Addo is in government and the negatives are happening.
Well, there were negatives under all the presidents we've had, including John Mahama. So, thank you anyway. Thanks for calling. Michael is in Kufuridia. Hi, Michael. Good morning.
Good morning. This issue of ritual killings and get-rich-quick syndrome, for me, it goes beyond the unemployment thing. The thing is, a lot of these guys who are engaged in these things, they're already employed, but they also want to drive the big cars and live in the big houses. It's as simple as that. You could go and conduct a simple research and find out people who are serving jail time in prison for various offenses, regarding theft and other things. I found out how many of them were actually unemployed at the time of committing the crime. Most of them.
Hello? Oh, I think we lost Michael there. Do we have Ni Papo from Kwashiman on the line?
Yes, please.
Ni, good morning.
Good morning, Okonfo. How are you doing?
Okonfuni, I'm all right. What's on your mind?
Could you?
Yes, sir.
You see, your ladies in the studio were talking about taking them off the street and they coming back.
Yeah.
I have a friend who started working with them, started working on streetism, and he gave up. Why? He said the kids are greedy. They just want money. They can't see themselves going off the street, take time to learn a trade, and then it will take time for them to make money. But today, let's make an analogy. If he is making 50 cedis today, what trade are you going to help him learn to make money tomorrow? I have another friend who was working with prostitutes, wanting to bring them out of the trade. And then he gave up also. The excuse was that, the explanation was that if there is no selling, there is no cost price and there is a selling price, and she ends up sleeping with somebody to make 200 Ghana a day, you are going to take her to the hairdressing place to go and learn how to do hairdressing and make money when? You see, so they want to make money today. There's the same place where these boys are begging for money. There are people trading. They are carrying things on their head, selling, or having things in their hand, selling. But because they'll just be begging, they get handouts, and they like it. And when they calculate how much they make every day, that's what the lady told you. You take them out, they will come back. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. This concept of greed, it's something we really need to examine. I mean, is it possible for you to be greedy? Shouldn't you have and still want more? So if you don't have, can you be greedy? Anyway, Ernest is in Legon. Ernest, good morning.
Good morning, Kojo. I hope you are doing well.
I'm okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you once again for the good work you are doing for Mother Ghana.
Bless you, brother.
Yes. I think Ministry of Gender and Children Protection or whatever, what are they doing, Kojo? These people sit in V8, blowing siren all the time. You don't even know where they are going. Wow. Every day going and coming. They will see these children in the traffic. At times I ask myself, so we as humans, would you allow your children to go and stand in the traffic. Sundays, we go to church and we sit at the front. Pastors are applying this road every day. Ministers are applying. Prophets are applying. Nobody cares about these children. These children are security threats to this nation. But we don't know. They are security threats. They'll grow to a stage where they'll have no choice but to join armed robbery gang, which will fight against you. That you say you are educating your children. They'll fight against you. They'll rob you. But I don't know what we are thinking. I don't know. So the leaders, we have entrusted the resources into your hand. The resources are not for you. They are for the citizens. The resources are not for Ghana leaders, or they are not for the elders only in the country. The resources is for everybody. So they should share the national cake. A time is coming where the youth will demonstrate against all these people, because they don't have any plan for us. Even in the next 2 years, they don't have any plan. Whilst other developed countries are thinking of 100 years to come, they are planning 200 years to come. We don't even have 5 years plan will come. When you ask any of the leaders in any position that how many years, what plan do they have for us in the next 2 years? They will have nothing to tell you, Kojo. They will have nothing to tell you, Kojo. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. We have time for one more call. We have Ejado on the line from Abeka. Ejado.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my boss.
I think it's getting out of hand. But we have to do something. But the elites, they won't listen to the home sense. They won't listen to us. You have to start from somewhere. From crèche to class 3, vernacular, our culture, our everything. From class 1 to crèche to class 3 or class 4. So that we won't get more. The population too is growing. So let's start from there. Stop these people. Find something for them now. From crèche to class 3, no English, no French, nothing. So that we teach them our manners, our culture, and everything. When they go to school, teacher will say, if something, your father money is there, don't say it's for my father, I'm taking it. Ask your father. Good name is better than riches. Then you ask your child. This is what the teacher said in the house, in school to do. Mama, teacher said, so, what is Dimpa? Then he said, when you see this, do that, do this. So that we won't get more. Because all of us, every day, everybody talking. There's no solution. So let us start for the crèche now.
Yes. We've got that point that you're making, Ejado. Very important point, that we really need to start catching them young so that it is something we can eradicate from the next generation. I appreciate your point. Thank you very much, Ejado, for calling us. And thanks to all of you who called us this morning. Also, special thanks to our guests who made the time to educate us. Look, this conversation, dear, we've only scratched the surface. We're going to have to do a lot more. And there is a lot more for us to discuss, a lot more for us to decide on as a nation, as a society. So until the next time we come together, because we have to come together again, Wilhelmina Tete and Dr. Deborah Atobra, thank you both very much for your time. Thanks, Ray, as always, for being with us. Look, there's more to come. Let's take some messages from our partners, and then when we come back, Roverman Productions will tell us about Quarter 2.
What would you do If you have the choice to do anything in life, build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend